That concludes questions for oral answer. I call on Government Order of the Day number 1.
Health and Safety Reform Bill, committee stage continued.
I declare the House in committee for further consideration of the Health and Safety Reform Bill.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chairman.
Order. The House and Committee on the Health and Safety Reform Bill. When we were last debating this bill, the committee was debating Part 4. Clayton Mitchell had the call. Dr. Clark. Clayton Mitchell had the call, and he has 2 minutes remaining.
Goodness me, those 2 minutes, Mr. Chair, are going to fly by, and so I might need to go and seek another call on this. Part 4 of the Health and Safety Reform Bill is a very, very important part, with only 2 supplementary order papers on the table, one from the Maori Party from Marama Fox and one, of course, from Ian Lees-Galloway. And from Labor, New Zealand First stands and will support the supplementary order paper initially by Ian Lees-Galloway because, in our opinion, it does give some protection for those people that are potentially going to be disenfranchised if the regulators decide not to prosecute for practices. And what it essentially does, Mr. Chair, is, and I'm going to read it out to you here, is clause 167B. It is an extension of 6 months after the date on which the regulator announces a decision not to prosecute to go for an extension if they want to go for a private prosecution. So I think that's absolutely fundamental in ensuring that true justice is actually upheld and is fundamentally part of what I think this bill actually stands for. Mr. Chair, last week today's a bit like Groundhog Day insofar as last week we spoke about some of the other concerns that we have in that bill, and that's relating to the enforcement matters. Now, we have noted that $8 million has been put aside in the 2015 budget for enforcement officers, and we would like to have some assurance that from the Minister that these Labour enforcement officers aren't going to be there as revenue collectors to try and somehow ingratiate a positive surplus at the expense of small and medium-sized businesses throughout the country. And so there is some concerns out there in business that this is in effect what they're going to do. $8 million per annum over the next 4 years, so that's $32 million, is a fair whack, and the concerns of those people to make sure that they aren't just out there slapping infringement fine after fine and tickets and so forth. Mr. Chair, I'd like to continue by saying, good, look at that, nobody jumped up, Mr. Chair, to talk about some of the other parts of the bill that we do actually look at supporting. And there is some parts in the bill here, which I'll just flick to my right page, is to do with Part 4, 122, the meaning of notice. So we've got improvement notices as point A1, prohibition notices, non-disturbance notices and suspension notices. And those come, Mr. Chair, with some fairly reasonably sized fines, which I do have to say, if there is ongoing examples of workers, PCBUs or bosses not acknowledging safety concerns, that they could actually be levied with those fines. And it's $10,000 per person or up to $50,000 for any other group, which I'm assuming would become the boards or larger organisations or a group directorship. Mr. Chair, it is about open and compliance and open and showing the ability to see what's going on within this bill and knowing what's happening within your workplaces, and to actually have enforcement officers in there enabling them to manage those problems in a business is absolutely fundamental. So we do actually support this parts of this section, part number 4. Mr. Chair, I hope there's some people ready to take a call, and I certainly will be taking some more calls as we go on later on today. I will actually say that we do have some concerns when you look at the fact that MB have got more PR people as opposed to health and safety representatives. That needs to change as well, not only in MB but around the country, particularly in our mining and quarries, etc., throughout the country. Mr Chair, I look forward to taking another call very shortly. Thank you.